Thank you for coming to another video. In our last video, we went over security monitoring activities, and in this one, we're going to do a little bit of data and application control, right? So we're going to do a few exercises. The first one is going to be on permissions, and I have Kali Linux open for us to get a bit into that. So we're actually going to open a terminal while that's doing that, just to let you know, like operating systems, they work with permissions, right, on files and directories. So the issue is that permissions sometimes apply for all the users in the systems. For example, if we assign the read permission, then it would apply to all users, unfortunately. But each user can be assigned different permissions using access controllers or ACLs. So what we're going to do is implement the access control list. So now that we got the terminal up, see, I need to check first to see if the kernel still supports the ACL. So let's see. All right, perfect. So I see that the output for the results for the command here. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. All right, so we're good there. So we can also search for packages on Kali Linux using the different type of command, which are searches for packages names as well as their descriptions. So we can actually search it like this. Perfect. Now, without the grep ACL command, it'll give us an overwhelming amount in our results. So we filter them using that command after the piping. So now that we see that all the ACL packages listed in the results there here, so we can actually clear this out. And now we're going to apply the ACLs. But to do this, we'll actually need to see. We need to do that. Now, it didn't give us an output, but that's fine. But the file is now created. Notice, there's no output of the touch command that's returned for us. But now we're just going to verify the permissions on that text file. So let's do that there. There it is. You see it? Got it. Got the text files. We're good there. Now the permissions are displayed, right? We see it's under root. We'll see that other users will also be able to read the file too. Let's go ahead and clear this out. And now we need to ensure that that other than the user, that no one has like read, write, or execute permissions for the text. So we're just going to take a look through this here. This command. All right. Let's see. All right. So it didn't return an output. So I'm just going to verify the permission on the file again. So let's see. Okay, root. All right, so now the permissions are displayed. So now we notice that other users do not have permissions on this file. So the read permission that was earlier set on the file has now been removed. So we're actually going to clear out the screen now that we see that. So now we're just going to verify the permissions on the file using another type of command. So let's see. Perfect. That looks pretty good so far. So now that we see that the root user is the only one that has to read, write, and execute permissions, so neither the group nor the user has these, right? So now we're just going to create a user in Kali Linux. So that's a great one. We'll do this here. Then adding user, the password, of course. And I'll just go through these. Of course, yes, correct. All right, so I added the home parameter for the home directory for the user I created, which is Mary, right? So Now I'm just going to clear this out. And now that we created Mary, right, we're going to assign permissions to Mary on that text file we just created. So let's see, access control list for Mary, user, right, read, write, execute, right. Then the text we want for the house permissions for. Perfect. All right, so no output was returned, so that means that the command was executed successfully. We didn't get an error. So now we're just going to verify the permissions for that file again. um, Yep, so we see Mary right there. So she has read, write, and execute permissions, which is good. That's exactly what we wanted. Actually going to clear this out. So now we're just going to verify the permissions with another command, the command we've already used. Let's see, the text file. All right, and we see the one, that is good. So now we see that the permissions are also assigned to the user, which in this case is Mary, of course, with the +1 that we have there. So now we're just going to move on to our next exercise. All right, so our next exercise is going to be built around software restriction policies, right? They're just policy-driven mechanisms that provide administrators with the ability to identify and control applications that can run on a Windows computer. So first, we're going to create software restriction policies for blacklisting and whitelisting applications. So let's see, I'm going to turn on a few things here first. All right, here, staging folder. All right, let's take a look at the view tab, and then I'm gonna uncheck this. Fine. All right. So actually, let's see this drive here, and this folder. Then we're gonna name that folder test app. Yep, that is fine because we're gonna do a couple things in there. All right, so let's see text document. We're actually going to change the format that it's in with .bat. And yes, that is fine as far as the extension, because then that changed the entire file, as you can see here. All right, so I'm just gonna click here and I'm gonna edit it. All right, so I'm just gonna echo, this is a test batch file. Let's see. All right, and I'm gonna hit save here. All right, so we're good to go. So I'm just gonna close that out. Let's see. All right, so now that I've created the batch file, I'm just gonna now restrict the batch file from running. So let's actually go to edit group policy. So usually GC edit is what I get it. All right, perfect. So let's take a look here. Do the configuration, Windows, security, of course, and software, fixing. All right, let's actually create some new ones. All right, perfect. So we see two subfolders here for security levels and additional rules, right? So I'm actually going to, let's see, let me actually go in here. And then, let's see. All right, so I see the default setting is set to unrestricted, means all the applications on the computer can be launched. So let's see. Let me actually open this up a bit better. Actually, let me go here. And let's create a new path here. All right, so right, just allow, fine. All right, perfect. So now the path rule for the names I named it C test app is good to go. I should have just lowered it. Completely, but nonetheless. All right, so now just gonna head here. Actually, I'm already here. All right, good. So now we're just gonna open this. Okay, so it's blocked us for the program. That's fine. So this behavior is just it's expected as the software restriction policy. It'll block the bot. It'll block the batch file based on its file path, which is the rule we just set, right? So now I'm just going to test the software restriction policy by copying the batch file to another location. So sorry about that. Right, perfect. All right, so I'm just going to put that here. Continue. Right, then I'm going to try to open it here. And now we can see that the batch file runs because the software restriction policy is based on the file path for the folder it was in previously. So I'm going to stop that here to terminate the file. I'm actually going to minimize this here. Open this back up. All right, perfect. So I'm actually going to delete this. Yes, we want to delete it. We're not using it anymore. All right, so I'm going to do a new hash rule here. Then browse. Let's see what we're looking for. Move this over? I guess not. Okay, so that's fine. Just click here. And let's see here. Let's open it up. All right. Make sure it's disallowed. All right, perfect. Okay. All right, so the new hash rule has been added. So I'm just going to close this out. All right. And then open this back up here. Look at this. And then I'm going to try to open it again. Out of it. See what I mean? Actually close it, but then open it back up. Not sure if it'll give us another block here. So that's fine. So now we notice that it has been blocked regardless of its location because of the new hash rule that we have, but that's fine. We're good to go now. We can head on to our next exercise here. All right, so for our last exercise, we're going to do a firewall here. When I say do a firewall, it's like configuring a firewall. So it can actually be configured locally or through a group policy, right? So it's usually centrally managed from the domain controller. So we're just going to configure a basic firewall rule. So actually, let me minimize this so we can get straight to it. We can go under and I'll click to advanced security here. All right, so let's see, read it here. Actually, let's take a look at the inbound rules. Then new rule, love rules only. So we want to be in a particular port, right? So the new firewall rule that's created is going to open a specific port for an application to connect. And we want that to be 1433. Now, TCP port, TCP port 1443 is used by SQL for incoming connections. So in this exercise, the port is going to be open to illustrate how to create an inbound connection on a specific port. So let's see, allow the connection if it's secure, of course. We also want to customize it just a bit. So we're going to require the connections to be encrypted, of course, end-to-end encryption. So we also want to allow the computers to dynamically negotiate encryption, right? And I'm just going to hit OK here. And yeah, so we customize that. We're actually going to add an authorized user. Let's add, and then let's see, SQL. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but check the name. We like it to be underlined, so it's just there. Good. All right, perfect. So now we can add new name here. Right. Perfect. Okay, and then let's add. Oh, and also by specifying a user, only that user will be able to connect to the computer using port 1433. All right, but anyway, so now let's get ahead into adding our next object. So that'll be, all right, perfect. Let me make sure everything else is good. All right, actually, let's put this here. All right, and then do domain. Right. Actually, now by some also in the last one, let me explain this a little bit more too. By selecting only the domain profile, this rule will only apply to computers connected to the domain. So the computer is actually going to be able to connect through this port with a specified user and the computer that's protecting the port. Um, so that's why I have that particular. So I'm actually going to rename this. So well, um, okay, all right, perfect. So finish. All right, so we're good there. So now the new inbound rule with the name PLAB SQL inbound rule has been created. Now, various other inbound rules can be created using this method, but it depends on the ports or which services need to be made available on the network and the server. So now we're just going to block ICMP version 4 traffic. So it's blocked to prevent unauthorized user scanning a footprint in the network. So blocking the traffic can prevent a denial of service attack or DOS attack. So I'm just going to showcase how to block that traffic. All right, so let's take a look at the inbound rules. The file path. Let's see. Go in. All right. Take a look at the properties of this bad boy here. We're gonna, of course, block the connection, right? And then let's see, apply. Make sure that is a thing, right? All right. So now we're just gonna connect back to the Kali Linux here. Then let's see, we're gonna ping. All right. Forget that when I change it, to click into it. Right. All right, perfect. So now it's executing the ping command, right? So I'm actually going to stop it. All right, so it's displayed right now that it was unable to communicate pretty much a package transmitted to zero received, 100% packet loss. Right with that. So now we're just going to configure logging the firewall traffic. So the traffic that moves across the firewall can be logged, right? So the log file can be used to view specific traffic and possibly identify unsolicited traffic on the network, right? So what IPsec, it identifies or specifies how computers would authenticate each other on the network. So let's take a look here. All right, so we're good. Let's see. Actually, let me take a look at these properties here. And actually, you know what? I'm just going to log all these packets here, and I want to do it for each one. All right, perfect. So now that I've taken care of that, now we're just going to let's see. I'm trying to remember. Let's see. Actually, you know what? Let me head back over to here. So we're actually going to reping it. Right. And actually, while it's pinging, let me swivel back over here. Let's go to monitoring. Let's see. Let's take a look here. All right. So now we can see with the file open, we can see, let's see here. Perfect. We can see the latest logs, right? So now after reviewing this, just at least a quick view of it, right? So we can actually see the packets of the Kali Linux that have been rejected. So the IP address for Kali Linux can actually be seen in the log file here. So yeah, that'll be the end of this particular exercise, and then we can move on to the next. All right. So we're going to actually on our last exercise, we're going to go over sandboxing. So Windows sandboxing, just for a quick tidbit, it's pretty much in a Windows environment, software is installed on a hard drive directly, right? So the sandbox solution, which is pretty much software instead, and ran from a sandbox environment. So it's a virtual machine that leaves a small footprint on as far as within the OS, right? So I'm actually going to open it up here. See, yep, there it is. Of course. So it's going to start up for us. Actually, while it's doing that, let me open this up so I can display what we can do with the sandbox. I'm actually going to copy this and just continue to wait for this. It take too long. There it is. All right, so now I'm going to paste it here. Okay. And the idea of this is not to show the install, because that's what exactly I'm going to do with the Nessus installer there. But how it can work, how things can work within a sandbox environment in particular, right? So we can, test it out with different applications like Microsoft Edge, Recycle Bin, or whichever, manual application you want to test it out with. But yeah, so it's a lot of different things you could do within the sandbox, and it'll retain any installation, right? As long as the sandbox itself is active. I'm actually going to start the installer here. Okay, there it is. So, perfect. So the install has successfully completed. So I'm just going to hit through the boxes here, just about there. Oh, come on. There we go. Finish. Usually this part is a bit quicker. But usually after this is done, it'll populate, and there it is. Yeah, there we go. And it should populate a new window from there. It is. Perfect. All right. So as I mentioned, it's going to retain any, anything we install on, anything we do within the sandbox, as long as this session is currently active. So now that you see that we've installed Nessus on here, right, via the installer here that we have. So if I close this out, right, are you sure when sandbox will close all those contents will be discarded and permanently lost? All right, so we hit yes, and then let's open back up the sandbox just to confirm. All right, yes, of course. All right. Didn't take long at all. Perfect. So we see it fully loaded as far as the application for Windows Sandbox, and we also see that Nessus has unfortunately been closed out. But that'll be the end of this video as far as all the exercise that we've been through. Just for a brief recap, we went over permissions, software restriction policies, firewalls, and sandboxing as well. And on the next video, we'll actually be going through improving network security. So I'll see you there.